This episode of the GolfWRX Shop is brought to you by Fujikura Ventus with Velo Core technology. The Ventus line has expanded and now has 3 shaft profiles to fit your desired ball flight. Ventus Red for mid-high ball flight with mid-spin, Ventus Blue for mid-launch and low spin, and Ventus Black for low launch and low spin. So go ahead and find your local Fujikura dealer by visiting fujikura.com and try Ventus with Velo Core out for yourself. Hey, it's Knudson. We're back down here in the GolfWRX shop, and today I want to talk a little bit about an issue that I think I'm not the only one who has the issue. And that issue is you have a plethora of, say, shafts or driver heads, and you want an easy way to basically swap all those pieces and make them all work together. Typically from this, you'd have to either come down in your own shop and put an OEM tip on a shaft, pull one tip, put one other one on, and it just becomes kind of a hassle. I mean, I don't mind doing it. I have my own shop, but you do run into issues like shaft lengths being different between OEMs and things like that. So I was looking for a solution where I could have, everything kind of uniform, and I did find it. So today I'm going to install a little something called Club Conex. So if you haven't heard of Club Conex, they're basically a company that makes a lot of tips and adapters for fitting locations. So where you can go to a fitter, they have a wall of shafts for irons, woods, whatever, and they can take that shaft and put it into any head they have, fit you into the perfect set, so that way they don't have to buy, 5 of the same shaft for every different head. So I reached out to them, kind of told them my dilemma, and they kind of set me up with their system, which is called Uni-Fit. Now, the cool thing about Uni-Fit from them is that it's a wood system designed for, drivers that still gives you adjustability. So basically all these drivers nowadays have adjustable hosels, adjustable tips. So what they did was they created a system that has a small sleeve that goes into the driver, and this will fit in, one of 2 ways. There's 2 little markings on it. I'll show you in a little bit. And then you have an adapter that goes onto the shaft, which will fit into any one of these sleeves. So a sleeve for a Cobra driver or a PXG, it doesn't matter. The same shaft tip will fit into all of them. Now, I mean, a lot of you are going to look at this and say, this doesn't apply to me. I don't have a wall full of shafts or, multiple heads. But I kind of thought about it a different way. Say you're a typical GolfWRXer, you have 2 high-end shafts that you really like. You have 2, expensive Fujikura Ventus shafts, a black and a blue. And you want to be able to hit those in different heads. Say you have a Callaway head right now, and you know what? You may trade that later on for a Cobra head or a Titleist head or whoever. Now, the issue is that when you trade that head or buy the new one, you can always pull the shaft adapter, install it into the new shaft adapter, try to get it to play the same, all that. It's fine. It takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of time, but it's doable. For a little bit more money, and I'm talking like 20, 40 bucks maybe, you can basically start working with Club Conex and never have to worry about that ever again. So what they've done is that each shaft tip is 20 bucks. Each sleeve for your driver, which also comes with another little screw and all that, which we'll talk about in a minute, is 20 bucks. A retail authentic Callaway adapter is $40 if you need a second one. So really, to buy yourself 2 shaft tips and the sleeve for the driver that you currently own is $60. Probably plus shipping. But it's 60 bucks. So it's really not that much more expensive than you going out and buying another tip. Now, I know you can say, oh, I can get those tips off eBay or whatever. Sure, you can get a non-authentic tip for $15 somewhere. I understand that. But if you're talking authentic, just hear me out. So you can start your system for like 60 bucks. Or say you have 2 driver heads. You have your old driver from a previous gen, you have the new one, they're different brands, and you have a single shaft. Same idea. You can buy 2 sleeves for your driver and a tip for that expensive shaft, and it works fine. And then after that, each year, or halfway through the year, whatever it may be, you get another shaft or another head. You simply buy another piece, and it's $20. So really, when you start thinking about it, if you have kind of a collection of just a few pieces, this starts to make sense. And the other thing too is, say you have this shop. You can do all the work, you can pull the shaft, put a new adapter on it, all that. Well, not everything plays the same length. So if you pull a shaft out of, say, a Mizuno head, and then you go to put it in a Cobra head, they're not the same length. So then if one's shorter, do you butt trim it, and then it's too short to go back in the Mizuno head, or vice versa? With this system, they basically adjusted all the sleeves, so every single shaft, if you cut it to one length, will play the exact same length in every single driver. Which is great news if you have some expensive shafts that you don't want to trim down too short and then not be able to use them in another driver. It also helps with somewhat keeping the swing weight correct, because basically if you get all your heads the same weight, the same shaft is going to be pretty much the same swing weight in all of them. So there's some real advantages here, along with just being a club nut like myself and having 13 shafts that you want to rotate between heads. So it does make sense for gear junkies who just maybe change equipment frequently. And right now, you know, the system has been the same for quite a while. And the other great thing, it's USGA legal. So even if you're a person who plays in official tournaments, things like that, no big deal, you're fine. And then, as I said before, there's actually adjustability built into these as well. So if you need to go up a degree of loft, or you want the head a little more upright or a little more flat, that is all built into these adapters. So the ability there is awesome. So it's something that I've started putting together for all my collection of shafts and heads. We'll install one today, show you how it works. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. There's a little bit of drawback to it. One, you don't get full adjustability out of this. So if you have, say, a Callaway adapter that goes up 2 degrees, you're not going to be able to go up a full 2 degrees. You'll be able to go up 1. The other negative would be if you have something like the Callaway adapters that the shaft never changes its rotation. It's always in the same spot. These are going to rotate. So a rib grip or something like that may not work as well in this setting. But again, to me, not a huge deal. So it's something kind of cool. And again, you don't have to go out and spend $300 on 10 tips and all this stuff. You don't have to do that. Just a couple tips and a driver sleeve or 2 will get you started. And I played with it. I played a couple rounds with it already. Doesn't change the feel. The look from a dress, it may be a touch thicker, but honestly, you don't really notice it from a dress. And some of the thicker adapters anyway, it looks exactly the same. So it's a pretty cool system. It's fun to mess around and then have the ability to, select a shaft off the wall, put it in any driver head that you may have, and walk out and play. Or go to the range and test out some different combinations to see what works for your swing. So those things, make it show that it's not really for just fitters. Simple club junkies like myself and you could definitely benefit from it. So let's go ahead and do one. I've got a great, highly coveted Ventus black here that I need to shaft up. So we'll start doing that and get one all set up and show you, and then be ready to go. So the first part of installing Club Conex Uni-Fit on your shaft of choice is basically installing the all metal adapter. The other thing I didn't say previously is that the other cool thing is that their adapters between sleeve and adapter are basically within like 1 gram of the OEM tips. So you're not going to have to worry about crazy swing weights if you already have a head that's hot melted or something like that. They're the same weight, so that's kind of cool. The first thing you're going to do is basically install this just like any OEM adapter. You're going to basically prep the tip, glue this on, let it dry, butt trim it, and you're good to go. But so I was talking to the guys at Club Conex, and I asked them about tipping, because these tips don't seem like they go in to the heads as far as an OEM tip, partly because of the sleeve here. So as I talked to them, they said some fitting locations won't tip the shafts to put in there, but they recommended to get it to play true to flex, to tip it about 3/4 of an inch. So that's what I've been doing with most of mine, is tipping them 3/4 of an inch. So we'll do that first, and then we'll prep it just like any other thing. We'll take off about, they say 3/4 to prep the tip, 3/4. I think it's just a hair more than that, but that's fine. But I'm going to tip this 3/4 of an inch for the shaft, and then we'll prep the tip, get it the paint removed, get it sanded, and then glue it up. So what you want to do is mark your shaft 3/4 of an inch. I know this is a black shaft, so it's not easy to see, but my mark's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up. Now make sure you use like a carbide or a type wheel to cut these off. Don't use like a circular saw or anything crazy. You don't want to damage your shaft. After you tip the shaft 3/4 of an inch, you want to prep it. So you want to remove the paint and sand it. The Club Conex instructions are going to tell you 3/4 of an inch. I think it's just a hair more than that. So what I like to do is take my little tape measure, go your little 3/4 of an inch, and then I like to take a little bit of painter's tape and actually wrap it around so I don't prep more than I need to. So once you get in here, take your little ruler. You can also use your shaft ruler if you have one, and basically go 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go, like I said, just a hair more than that. Like I said, the adapter, I measured it to almost an inch when I kind of put like a pencil down there and marked it. It was just about, just under an inch. But I like to wrap a little tape around here, and then take your utility knife, and you're going to scrape the paint off. But you want to do is keep the blade away. So when you're putting, you're going to scrape the paint away, but keep the blade angled away from where you're going. You don't want to cut into the shaft. You want to scrape the paint off and basically scrape it off like that. So you're going to see a little line in there where the paint comes off, and just do that around the whole shaft. And this way you're not going to damage any of the fibers. You're just going to remove the paint that you need to remove. After you're done doing this, which you can tell I've done this once or twice, and the nice thing is if you have this tape on here, you don't have to worry about going too far. So once you get this all set up, you got the paint removed, you're going to go through and just run a quick bit of sandpaper over it. Just take just a little bit of sandpaper. This is 150 grit. Sometimes I use 80, whatever I have laying around. And just run a quick sand over it to basically remove any excess paint and make sure that the surface is a little bit rough in order to install the tip. So you're not looking to remove any material, just rough it up a little bit and make sure all that paint is off there. Then once you pull the paint or pull the tape, got kind of a perfectly prepped tip there. So then once that's done up, you'll see it's kind of all the paint's removed. We'll just make sure that our tip fits. So we're good there. It doesn't have any slop or any play. So after we're sure the tip is prepped, you're going to take your adapter, we know it fits, and do the same thing. We want to sand it just a little bit. Make sure you rough up the inside and just take off any excess paint or anything, kind of rough it up so the epoxy sticks to both the shaft and the adapter well. I take a little bit of that same sandpaper, again this is 150 grit, just roll it into a little circle, and then I just kind of work it in and out of the shaft or inside of the adapter, and just kind of work it in and out and just rough up the inside. Again, you're not looking to make anything smaller or remove any a bunch of material. Just try to rough up the inside and make it a little something for the epoxy to grip onto. So go ahead and run that in there just for a few minutes. Like I said, I kind of go back and forth, run it through, just kind of sand it up a little bit to make sure that the tip is ready to go. And then we'll mix our epoxy, glue it together, let it dry. So let's mix our epoxy here. An old trick I like to use is take your old GolfWRX catalog they send you, and it's a great mixing board. You just mix, and then when it dries up, you just peel off a sheet. The old catalog, just peel off a sheet and move on to the next one. But make sure your epoxy's 50-50 split of part A and B. If you want to watch a real good video on it, check out Ryan Barath. He does a great video on epoxy. He gets super precise. You guys know me, I'm a little more fly by the seat of my pants, so I'm gonna go just kind of mix it by eye. If you're new to it, definitely measure it out and make sure it's correct. And then I take just an old shop pencil I have laying around to mix it and make sure it's mixed really well. You don't want the parts not mixed completely, because then you won't get a good bond and you'll get some breakage or some slippage or twisting in the adapter. So make sure you mix this stuff up really well after you get the two parts laid out. But kind of let that go there and mix it up. I like to kind of almost knead it in a way. And once you're mixed in there, you're basically just going to put a little bit of this in the adapter, and then a little bit on the shaft itself as well. So take your adapter here, take a little bit, and again, this doesn't have to be crazy thick. You know, just a little bit there, enough to coat the inside of the adapter. So, like I said, you're not looking for 6 inches of epoxy to go up the shaft and be in there. And then take your shaft here that's already been prepped. Same thing, put a little bit of epoxy on your shop pencil there, and just kind of coat the prepped area of the shaft. So again, you don't have to go crazy. We're not looking to put on as much epoxy as possible. You just need something to coat the inside, kind of scrape off the excess here. And then when you're installing this, kind of give it a little twist to kind of make sure everything adheres. And then I used to take the neutral, because I like to use it in the neutral setting, but whatever setting you think you're going to need, put that going with the logo. So I'm going to go the neutral route and just kind of give it a little twist there, make sure everything's coated, and then do a little tap. And we'll wipe off the excess epoxy. I like to just take a little paper towel, wipe off that excess epoxy. And then just make sure again that your graphics and whatever setting you want it to be at, like I said, I'm using neutral, are lined up. So once those are lined up, you're just going to set this aside. Try to set it as vertical as you can, and let it dry. So each kit with the driver, so when you pick your driver, like this is a Mizuno ST190G, you pick that kit, and each kit is going to come with the sleeve for the hosel, which is right here, and then it's going to have a new screw to go in the head, because the OEM screw that's in there is a little too short, and then it's going to have a washer and a little rubber gasket to keep this thing in place. So when you look inside your driver head, there's a little rubber gasket as well in there. You're not going to be able to see it on camera, but there's a little rubber gasket that holds the screw in. So what you want to do is push that out, so that way the screw comes out, and then the rubber gasket will come out as well. So I usually take, like, a pencil or small screwdriver, something like that, and you basically just push out the screw, and then that'll come out. And be careful to not with the washer, because you don't want it to fall back into the head. So make sure you keep it there, and then there's the Mizuno washer out. So once that's out, what you'll want to do is basically take the washer, put that on the screw, slide that into the bottom of the head, and then you'll look and say, well, there's no way to get the rubber washer on that screw. So to install the rubber washer, you're going to need, basically, you're not going to be able to just stick that rubber washer in the hosel. It's just not going to work. So what you'll need to do is take a shaft that already has a Club Conex adapter on it. You'll have to take your driver sleeve, and it doesn't matter what setting, just set it there. And then you're going to take the little rubber washer here, and you're going to basically put it right over the top of the threaded opening on the bottom of the adapter. And then what you're going to do is take your driver head, and again, it doesn't matter the setting, and carefully put this on top like that, so it fits, and then take your wrench and screw in the adapter into the head. And what this does is, as it threads into the adapter, it's going to push that rubber gasket onto the screw and make it so the screw won't come out of the head. And you don't have to make it super tight. You just kind of go all the way down, and then go ahead and you take your Club Conex wrench and unscrew it. And when that's done, you'll see, which again, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but inside there, the little rubber gasket is on the screw so it won't fall out. That way you don't have to worry about the screw falling out when you go to change shafts and such. So once that's installed there, your head's ready to go, and the sleeve basically fits in there. So that's all you have to do to install the screw and the rubber washer into the driver head. So a little trick too on these little sleeves. Each sleeve has kind of two settings, basically a single dot and a double dot setting on them. So there's different ways that you can adjust the heads. Sometimes they're a little hard to see. So what I did is actually paint filled the little dots. I just took a little bit of nail polish, like what I do with all my paint filling for irons and everything else. And I basically just put a little dot on top of the little dot. So that way it's going to be easier to tell where those dots are on the head when you go to adjust it. So not something that you necessarily have to do, but it's something that I thought was kind of helpful. Then once you let that dry for like a minute, you'll take your adapter and then just take a little nail polish remover, put it on a piece of paper towel, and just gently run the paper towel over the top, and you'll have something that's a little easier to read. So that way you'll be able to tell where those settings are without having to look too hard or anything like that. Again, not a big deal. I mean, you can see them, but on some of the black adapters like those, it does get a little difficult to see where those dots are at. So just something, a little trick that I picked up while using this system. And you can do this while you wait for your shaft tip to dry. So the one thing I really like about this system is that you can have all these shafts cut to the same length, and they're all going to play the same length in the driver. So if you want your driver to play 45 inches, which is probably a little under standard for most drivers nowadays, but pretty stock length for a lot of people. But if you wanted to play 45 inches, you would trim all your shafts to 43 inches with the adapter on them. So adapter to here, you're going to trim these to 43 inches. That way it'll play 45 in any driver head. If you wanted to play 44 and a half, you would cut this to 42 and a half. But like I said, the nice thing is every shaft will play the same length in every driver. So all you have to do is measure it up, mark it at, like I said, I'm going to mark mine at 43. All right, and then once you have it marked at 43, just trim it down. So when gripping these shafts, again, if you use a ribbed or a reminder grip, or you want it logoed down, whatever, you're going to have to set this thing in there probably with the driver head on. For me, I'm using these Golf Pride Tour Velvet 360s, so I don't care which way it goes on, so I can just throw the shaft in here and grip it. It doesn't matter to me. Kind of a cool little trick to remove the little plastic. You can try to peel it all that, or to just snap it. Take the grip, take it in your palm, and kind of hit it on your table at like an angle, and it'll actually break the plastic. You can hit it pretty hard. And you can see it just breaks the plastic. Take that off. Ready to go. So, like anything else you grip here, you're going to put a little bit of tape on. I think I literally forget my knife every time I do this. And you're going to put a little bit of tape on, just like normal. Put your tape on. And then pull that off there. Wrap it around. And then fold the end over, kind of covering the back section. Take your grip solvent here. Cover up the hole in the bottom of the grip. Put a little solvent in the grip. Put a little solvent on the grip tape. Then give it a little shake to coat the inside. Pour your excess out. And then, all in one motion, grip is on. Take your towel, kind of wipe off any excess, anything like that. You know, if you got a grip with a logo or something like that, make sure it's straight. But, you know, just put it on there. You don't have to stretch it out or anything. Just kind of get it on there. And this thing is ready to go. So now you've got a shaft here that'll work in any head that you have a Club Conex adapter for. So this one's ready to go. Like I said, very coveted black Ventus. But we'll go ahead and lock this up. So then once you're done, your shaft's dried, all you have to do is put it back in your head, or go to your wall of shafts, pick out your favorite, and put it together just like any normal driver. Take your wrench, tighten it down, and you're ready to play. So that's all it takes, all there is to it. And like I said, I mean, it's a great system for somebody who's either got a lot of shafts or somebody who maybe just has one or two driver heads. Like I said, between the standard length of the ability to adjust and the ability to work between different heads and all that, it's hard to find too many things wrong with the Club Conex Uni-Fit system. So once that's ready to go, you're ready to head out to the course of the range, play some golf. But if you have any questions, anything like that, definitely leave them in the comments. I do check it. And make sure to subscribe and follow GolfWRX.com's YouTube channel and all that, because we do have you know, a bunch more videos coming out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time down here in the shop.